Let's look at an example to see how act utilitarianism, this whole concept of utility, is supposed to work. Here's the example I'd like you to consider. You got this friend, or this guy Jim, who's facing a decision. You know, it's the night before the final exam in his ethics course, and he has a decision of either studying for his final, maybe he has another final studying for his finals, or going out to party with his friends. So let's see how the decision lines up. And to do this, we're going to take a look at this kind of matrix. Matrix is just sort of a table. So we see Jim's facing two decisions, and take a look at the two things on top of this set of alternatives. He either goes to the party, or take the exam, studies for the exam. Right. Now, let's see what happens. And we want to talk about the pleasant consequences of each of these alternatives and the painful one, and then get a utility. Well, let's think of the decision or the alternative going to the party. Well, he gets to go out and party with his buddies, which gives him they're going out to a great club, great party, whatever, fantastic time, whatever. I'm not even going to talk about what they're doing. Tremendous amount of pleasure. 100 heat-ons. It's going to be a big night. Now, Jim is usually the life of the party, so he ensures that all of his friends, his 5 friends, also have a great time, have a lot of pleasure. 500 heat-ons. That's on the positive side. The pleasant consequences of that alternative. Let's look at the painful consequences. On the dolor's side, he flunks the exam. Oh, that's a big one. Lasts for a while. $500. He's a senior. He's not finishing college. And in fact, this was his last chance. He can't get his college degree now. That's pretty bad. He spent all this time, wasted it, can't go back, really has life consequences to him, never going to get the job he wants. So let's say about $10,000, and let's say Jim's parents are going to be somewhat disappointed, or it's not going to affect them as much as it's going to affect Jim, but $100. So when we add all of that up, we end up with, if I did the calculation right, minus 10,900 for the utility of going to the party. Now let's think about studying for the exam. Jim's a good student, so on the positive side, he studies for the exam, passes it, does very well, gets his college degree. Really thrilled, worked very hard for 5,000 heat-ons. In addition to which, he gets a good job. He managed to get a beautiful spouse, and he lives a happy life. This is huge, a lot of pleasure. 100,000 heat-ons result. Okay, so now we're at 105,000 heat-ons. Okay, now look, he has to take the exam. Exams, let's say it's a really tough exam, it's a painful one, $100. And his buddies are disappointed, and they're really disappointed because they know they're going to have a lousy time without Jim. So they're getting $100 a piece, so it's $500. And in addition to which, it's a very long exam, and in doing it, he's busy doing a lot of writing, and he gets a blister on his pen finger, and it opens up, and it's all kinds of gets $50. So we add all of that up, and if I did the calculation right, the utility of that alternative, studying for the exam, is $104,350. Now, if we're thinking about in general, forget about utilitarianism. What should Jim do? Well, the right thing to do, we'd like to say, is for him to study for the exam. Okay, so that's what our intuition is. But let's forget about our intuition. What does act utilitarianism, Mill's criterion of morality, tell us? Well, it says we should take the alternative that's such that no other alternative has a higher utility. Well, we only have two alternatives, so it's easy to figure out in this case. So at least according to that principle of morality, studying for the exam has the higher utility. And according to the theory, that is, according to act utilitarianism, Mill's theory, according to it, it's right. So it's a nice, happy situation. That is, we have a situation where our intuitions in general go along with what Mill's theory tells us is right or wrong, which is kind of some confirmation of the theory. Now, as an exercise, what I would like you to do is consider the trolley example and consider the majority opinion. That is, we should turn the trolley. And remember the argument that we discussed. The argument having that moral premise, which was a moral principle, that is, if you can save 5 lives by sacrificing one, you ought to do it. What I'd like you to do is sit down in the same way that we just went through the party versus study example. Go through the example of the trolley, Philippa Foot's trolley, and explain, according to utilitarianism, why the majority opinion is the correct opinion in that case.